لا إله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله لا إله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
For non-Muslims, whatever religion you may be, or whatever religion that you used to be and you don't ascribe to anymore, then I'd like to appeal to you on this subject: why should you be a Muslim? And firstly, before we begin and try our best not to bore you, I'd like to say that I think I'm qualified, and I'm not qualified to talk about a whole lot of subjects. I can only maybe think of maybe one or two subjects that I think I'm qualified to talk about, and this may be one of them. One of the reasons why I think I'm qualified to talk about why you should be a Muslim is because at one time in my life I wasn't a Muslim. So I think after living both lives, I think I have some qualification on why a person, whether they're black, whether they're white, no matter what color their skin may be, no matter what texture of hair they may have, no matter what language they may speak, I think I'm qualified to say on this subject, why should you be a Muslim? First of all, I'd like to mention some things that maybe people think is Islam. We're going to try to dispel some of the misnomers and the misconceptions that we have here in the society, this American society, on what is Islam by mentioning what isn't Islam. And it's interesting for those of you who are non-Muslims, and maybe some of the Muslims here may not even know it, that the most misunderstood religion in the world, and at the same time the most despised and rejected religion in the world, is Islam. For those of you who don't know. At the same time, this misunderstood way of life and this despised and rejected and held in contempt religion called Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. And this is not the words of me. This is the words of non-Muslims. Non-Muslims. They have statistics that they are claiming that are accurate, and we believe that they're more accurate than what they say, that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world, and it's the fastest growing religion in the United States. In fact, to make a note of why it's despised, or one of the points of statements to why it's despised, about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that, the former President Nixon mentioned on national TV, not in some park somewhere or in his blue room or green room when he was in the White House, but he said this on national television, that now that we've done, or we're about to do away with communism, now we have to concentrate on the biggest threat that we have to this nation. And that's not the drugs, that's not prostitution, that's not inflation, that's not maternal mortality rate. Islam. It's on national TV, it's documented, that the biggest threat to this society, according to the former President Nixon, is Islam. And according to Dan Rather and Mike Wallace, just 2 years ago, on 60 Minutes, the fastest growing religion in the United States is Islam. Without any advertising, without any national television shows, without any national radio programs like the Christians and the Jews and the other religions have, without any major advertising in any of the newspapers, Islam is the fastest growing religion in the United States and in the world. They added to this, and Mike Wallace said that by the year 2300, they estimate that 1 out of every 3 people in the entire country is going to be a Muslim. Already, 1 out of every 4 people are Muslims. 4 billion people in the world. 1 billion people are Muslims. 4 billion people, 1 billion are Muslims. By the year 2300, according to a non-Muslim, 1 out of every 3 people in this country is going to be a Muslim. Now for the Muslims, we already knew this. We already knew that Islam was going to grow like this. In addition to this, out of all the prison systems in the United States, federal prisons, state prisons, county prisons, local or city prisons and city jails, fastest growing religion in the prison system in the United States right now is the religion of Islam. In the armed forces, the fastest growing religion in the Navy, in the Marines, even in the Coast Guard, the Army, in the Air Force, documented by the non-Muslims, is Islam. What is the reason? Why are so many people becoming Muslims? Why that when just 2 years ago, or around that time, when this Gulf War broke out, why did over 8,000 members of the American troops, why did over 8,000 members of the American troops, while they were stationed in Saudi Arabia, accept Islam and become Muslims? 35% of them were white, 16% of them were women. And they also have some statistics that Islam is the fastest growing religion among women today. More women are accepting Islam now than any other religion in the United States. Why is this happening? Why are people becoming Muslims? Why are people accepting Islam? There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons, as when a Protestant chaplain, a Reverend Bogosian, one day when we were driving to work, I used to work as a chaplain, quote unquote, in New York State Corrections, and we used to carpool. I had an office with the Jewish chaplain and the Catholic chaplain and the Protestant chaplain. The Protestant chaplain one day, Reverend Bogosian, he asked me, he said, Dawud, why did you leave Christianity? Because he also knew that I was in the Christian ministry. I used to be in the Christian ministry in the Christian church and the Pentecostal church. I was on my way to go to the seminary to become a minister. He said, why did you leave Christianity and accept Islam? And I told him, I said there were at least 2 or 3 reasons. But the main reason was, it wasn't because of the oppression of black people and the white people had their foots on the black people's necks and all those other reasons that people always give for accepting Islam, or some other silly reasons, or not so silly reasons. I told him there was basically 2 or 3 reasons. And one of the reasons was that I just had this problem of understanding the Trinity and accepting the Trinity as a philosophy, for lack of a better word, or a concept that made sense. I told him as we were driving, he was riding my car, I said, it doesn't seem right for me as a creature of the creator of the heavens and the earth to worship, even though I was pushing this in the church, to worship a creator who's going to make something as a religious way of life have some confusion in it. It just didn't seem right that the creator of the heavens and earth would have some ambiguities or some vagary, some confusion or cloudiness around the basic principles of that religion. And I said one of those basic principles was the Trinity. I just couldn't understand why the basic principles of Christianity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, there wasn't one verse in the Bible that substantiated it. And I was a student. I wasn't just a layman on the street. I was a student. And he knew, because he had a doctor of divinity, so he knew better than I did, that there wasn't one verse in this Bible, 66 books in the Protestant version, 73 books in the Catholic version. No matter what Bible you read, Wycliffe, Schofield, Lane, New World Translation, the Mormon Bible, the Seventh-day Adventist Bible, didn't make any difference. Not one verse that was of the original manuscript that proved that God was 3. Not one. That was an original part of the text of the Bible. And so he looked over to me. He's a much older man than me. He said, you know, one of our female ministers, she gave a very beautiful explanation on this. And this is answer on the explanation of the Trinity was one of the reasons why I can sit and tell you why you should be a Muslim. He said to me, she explained this thing very beautifully. She said that Christianity, the concept of the Trinitarian doctrine is like an egg. You see, Dawud, the egg has three parts. It has the shell, it has the yolk, and it has the white. And all of that makes up the egg. He said, isn't that beautiful? I said, yes, that's very beautiful, and especially because I like eggs. I said, but that theory doesn't hold water, Reverend Bogosian. He said, why? I said, because you know just like I know. And by this time we're riding through the beautiful mountains upstate New York. I'm trying to look at the road and look at him at the same time. I said, you know as well as I do, Reverend Bogosian,